Lying down and standing practice. This practice involves exploring the body and mind through a mindful movement practice. So finding your way to the floor and taking a little rest here. Taking some time to maybe shift and wriggle. Letting the arms and legs lie long. And just opening to your state here right now. What's here in the body to be known? All the different sensations arising. There may be parts of the body you can feel vividly, and other parts that are relatively out of awareness. And of course, looking after your body during this practice. If I ask you or invite you to do anything that isn't right for the body you have today, feel free to modify the movements or allow yourself to imagine the movement. This can also be really helpful. I'd also like to encourage you to notice what arises with my invitations. If the experience is pleasant, if it's unpleasant, or if it's neutral. And sometimes you might like to follow my invitations strongly and see what arises. And other times you might like to play with giving yourself permission to listen to your own deep knowing, whatever is right for you and your body, and see what arises as you make these different choices that are based on the wisdom of your body. Bringing attention now to the movements in the body that are arising naturally. Bringing attention to the movements of breathing as you rest here. You may want to take a few fuller breaths, feeling into the movements of the muscles that assist us in breathing. Feeling into the shifting sensations in the belly, the chest, the sides of the chest, and the back body as we take in air and let it go. And now tuning into your body, simply lying here and breathing. Noticing if there's any particular movements that you feel like making now to warm up the body. Any stretching, reaching, wriggling that you'd like to do. Taking up this movement, giving the body a chance to release and restore, just through some natural movement that you feel like making right now. And then coming to rest again in relative stillness. And while you're settling into the floor and your breath, I'm going to let you know a little bit more about movement practice. Movement practice is a meditation practice. It's a formal meditation practice, and it supports us interrupting automatic pilot, where the body is doing one thing and the mind is doing something else. These movements actually come from Hatha Yoga, and the yoga part of this is about yoking. So we are yoking the body and the mind together so that they are moving as one in the experience, rather than the mind being somewhere else and the body doing something else. So we're opening to all the experiences of the body and the mind in both movement and stillness in this practice. We are developing our capacity to listen to the wisdom of the body's communication with curiosity and openness. We're going to be slowing down, stepping out of that automatic pilot, and rather than doing exercise, which is about strength, flexibility, mobility, we're going to be slowing down so we can actually listen to the language of the body that comes through sensing and savouring. Dropping into the felt sense of this alive body in each moment. This body that we might long for one day. And hopefully the slow movements will settle the nervous system a little bit too. And the process of coming back to the physical sensations and back to whatever is happening in our mind as well as our body allows this process of being less stressed to unfold so that we can respond more to life from moment to moment. So having said all of that, you might like to just take a few deeper breaths, noting those points of contact with the floor. Just the normal, natural pressure that comes from being on the floor. And of course, if you need to keep your knees bent, by all means do that to protect your lower back. Or if you need to be in a different position, allow yourself to move into that position. And even though we are being physically still, there's always the movement of the breath. So being open to the stillness of the body and the ongoing movement of the breath. Keeping your head on the floor or the cushion, keeping the weight of the head on this support. Just begin to roll your head from side to side and noticing how slow do you have to go in order to really notice the sensations of movement through the neck and the head. How slow do you have to go to really take in, to really sense into this movement practice? It's much less about the destination and more about the journey. We are opening to all of the points in between. So even though we are turning our head from one side and then to the other, it's less about the destination and more about the experience from moment to moment in the journey of moving. And with this simple movement of the head, be also open to the rest of the body. You may notice that there are other parts of the body that are tensing in some way and that they don't need to be. So you may even have a choice there. So even though you're aware of parts of the body that are tensing, seeing if it's possible to let them go so that only muscles need to be engaged right now. The only muscles in the neck as the head rolls from one side to the other. And now bringing that to stillness. Perhaps opening up to any sensations that are residual from having moved, and opening to the whole body in stillness. Breathing. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to raise your arms in the air, making an arc. So the back of the hands will eventually be above the head. Before you do that, the invitation is to engage your arms. So you might like to spread your fingers and bring some tension into the hands, and let your fingers be stretched out and initiating a lift of the arms, just 1 centimetre off the ground, as if someone's pulling on your fingertips, pulling the arms away from the shoulders, and just noticing the weight of the arms as we hold them in gravity. And then beginning to make an arc. So following through. Again, even though we know the destination, that's not where we are heading. We are heading into each moment of a movement, arriving, sensing into the journey. How slow do you have to go to really notice the moment-to-moment experience of making this arc with the arms? Noticing clothes pulling against skin. Perhaps noticing a little bit of shakiness. There might be some stronger sensations or some subtle sensations that feel like there's nothing even there. And as the hands come to the space above the head, just noticing if you'd like to bend your elbows and rest your arms back on the floor, or would you like to have a stronger stretch here? Keeping the fingers stretched. You might like to initiate a stronger stretch here so that you notice sensations through the armpits and the sides of the torso. Just breathing. And when you're ready, making an arc back again, opening to all the sensations as the arms move through the air. How slow do you have to go to really notice this journey of the arms returning to the floor on either side of the torso? And just before you get to the floor, just taking that moment to hover. And as you hover, noting the weight of the arms, and then opening to the journey of letting go. Letting go of the weight of the arms, being met by the floor. Softening through the hands and the wrists. You might like to scan through the body and just notice if there are any parts of the body that got involved and can soften right now. Releasing. Opening to sensations throughout the entire body, including blankness, numbness, body temperature. And now we're going to make a new arc. So spreading the fingers, lifting the arms, letting them rise through the air, opening to your moment-to-moment experience of this journey. Noticing clothes pulling, perhaps noticing the coolness of the air through the hands. And if it feels right for your body, reaching the hands over the head and all the way either to the ground, above your head, or as far as your body will allow. Bringing your attention to your feet and letting the legs lie long, if they are lying long, and pointing the toes towards the head, pulling the heels away so that you have a full body stretch. Noticing breathing in this position, sensations through the belly, the legs, torso. Noticing if the face can stay soft, even though we are stretching the body, and you might even like to pull one leg away in a diagonal, the opposite hand away and doing a diagonal stretch. And just exploring what this may have to offer you. And letting that soften and doing the other diagonal if that's right for you. And releasing the feet. And now we will begin to make the arc back with our arms, but we are going to stop halfway. So without rushing, just noticing the sensations created through the journey, with the fingers eventually pointing towards the sky. And when you've arrived there, crossing your wrists over and letting that crossing over follow through so that eventually your elbows bend, so that your elbows are pointing towards the ceiling, and the opposite hand will come to the back of each shoulder, kind of giving yourself a bit of a hug. And then pulling your elbows up towards the ceiling and allowing your shoulder blades to come apart. And if it feels right for your body, just tipping your shoulders from one side to the other. Making a little bit of an arc with the elbows. Pressing that space between the shoulder blades into the floor. It can feel like a bit of a massage in this space. Often a place of tension for most of us. Just breathing here. And how slow do you have to go to really notice the sensations? Making and breaking contact of pressure on the floor. And as you begin to release into the support from the floor, you may need to make an adjustment to your neck by bringing your chin towards your chest and lengthening the back of the neck, pressing, breathing, opening to parts of the body that might be warm and parts that might feel cool right now. You might even like to take notice of what's happening in the mind, any thoughts, emotions. And now if your knees aren't bent, we're going to be placing the feet flat on the floor and bending the knees. So begin to tip your pelvis backwards and forwards. And if you have a lower back issue, you might just like to move even a millimeter. It doesn't have to be a big or strong movement. But for some of you, you may notice that when you tip your pelvis away, it lifts the small of the back. It makes a little arch in the small of the back. And then as you scoop the pelvis, keeping it on the floor, but scooping it upwards, it kind of flattens the lower back into the floor. So just noticing moment to moment experience of just moving in this way. Noticing the pelvis tipping in one direction and then the other. In this position, you might also notice the contact of the floor through the feet, the contact through the arms as you tip your pelvis in both directions. And now bringing that to stillness. Keeping the feet on the floor and the knees bent. In a moment, the invitation will be to go into a bridge by pressing the feet into the floor and lifting the pelvis off the floor. And just noticing whether this invitation feels right for your body or not. You don't have to come up very high. You may want to continue with the tipping of the pelvis that we were just doing. Or there might be a completely different position that would be more helpful for you to explore. But if it does feel right for your body, just walking your feet in towards your bottom a little, with the feet hip width apart, and then pressing into the floor through the feet, which will allow the pelvis to rise up above the floor. You may not go very far, but just noticing if it's possible to lift the pelvis up and then rolling down the spine, one vertebrae at a time, so that the last thing that touches the floor as we come down is the buttocks. And then softening, letting go, noticing if there's any relief in coming back down to the floor. And if it feels right for your body, we're going to do this one more time. So pressing into the floor and lifting the pelvis up. Noticing any shaking or muscles in the body that need to work a little more, like the belly, perhaps the inner thighs, the glutes. And then when you're ready, rolling one vertebrae at a time down the spine, noticing the contact with the floor and opening to all the sensations of letting go. And keeping the knees bent, bringing the right knee into the chest now. And wrapping your hands around the right knee, giving it a bit of a squeeze towards the chest. And you might even want to play with rotating your ankle, spreading your toes and scrunching them up. Placing your hands behind your thigh, if that's possible for you. And then letting your right foot rise up to the ceiling and pointing the toes to the head and away. Noticing perhaps any strong sensations or subtle sensations. You might like to continue moving your ankle and toes. And you can keep your knee bent in this position. It doesn't have to be straight. And just noticing what feels right for your body. In a moment, we're going to be releasing this leg back to the floor with a straight leg. So being open to the journey as we release the hands and begin to lower the legs straight down to the floor. And before we get to the floor, just letting it hover like we did with the arms. Just really taking in the weight of the leg No need to rush, just opening to all of the sensations of the journey and opening to the weight of the leg just above the floor, and then opening to all the sensations of letting go as the floor meets the body and the body meets the floor. Noticing if there are any parts of the body that need to let go, like the hip or the belly, the hands, the neck, face, breathing. Now bending that right knee as the right heel drags along the floor, having both knees bent and both feet flat on the floor, and then bringing the left knee into the chest, wrapping the hands around the left knee, giving it a bit of a squeeze towards the chest. You might like to play with the ankle and the toes, seeing what direction they can go in, opening up to any creaking or crunching sounds. And then wrapping your hands around the back of the thigh now and letting that left foot come up towards the ceiling. And if you can't quite reach your thigh, you might like to just hold on to whatever fabric you can. You might also like to continue playing with your ankles and toes in all the different directions. And by all means, keeping your knee bent if you need to. And opening here to both strong sensations and subtle sensations. Noticing if it's possible to include the rest of the body in this position. And in a moment, we're going to be releasing the left leg to the floor, keeping the legs straight. So releasing the hands and begin to make that journey as you open to your moment-to-moment experience of the leg moving, and again hovering just above the ground, taking in the weight of this left leg and then opening to all of the sensations of making contact with the floor and letting go. If it's possible to have both legs long, just letting that right foot slide along the floor, straightening the right knee so both legs lay long. And again, if it's more comfortable to have both your knees bent, bend that left knee again so both knees are bent and both feet are on the floor. Finding a place of rest in your body. In a moment, we're going to be coming onto hands and knees. But again, allowing the journey to this new posture to be part of the practice. So as you start to move, noticing all the choices you make in order to come onto your hands and knees, opening to the journey, sensing into all the sensations of moving your limbs, your torso, rolling through the ground as you come up onto your hands and knees. And if you have a problem with your wrists, you can make a fist and rest on your knuckles. So bringing the knees to be hip width apart so the hands are directly under the shoulders, allowing the spine and the neck to be neutral in this position. Breathing here for a moment. Perhaps noticing any shaking through the limbs, noticing any other sensations that may be here as we continue to sense into the body. And of course the mind will have wandered off and thought about all sorts of things, perhaps even evaluating yourself along the way. And just noticing when the mind is busy. When we notice, we're actually being mindful. We're becoming present. And that's what we are here to do. Allowing the sensations in the body to be the anchor back to the present. So now we're going to do what is traditionally called the cat and cow. So what we're going to do is curl the tailbone under and squeeze the belly in and bring the chin to the chest and pull out of the shoulder blade, so it's like the spine is reaching up towards the sky. Breathing in this position, kind of arching up, a bit like a cat. And then our aim is to uncurl in the other direction. So letting the tailbone reach up towards the sky, the belly will come down towards the floor. Keeping your arms straight, the chest will move forward, as will the throat and the face. And if your eyes are closed, you might like to open your eyes in this position and just noticing what that's like, to also take in the visual field in front. So if it feels comfortable, just oscillating, moving between these two positions a couple of times. So tucking the tailbone under and allow the spine to reach up towards the ceiling, squeezing the belly in, bringing the chin towards the chest. Noticing the sensations as you do this. And then uncurling, allowing the tailbone to reach up towards the ceiling as you tip the pelvis in that direction. Moving the chest open and forward, including the throat and the face. In your own time, beginning to oscillate between these two postures. And seeing if it's possible to interrupt automatic pilot by slowing it down, so that the journey is part of the destination, not just the end of the movement. We are arriving in each moment, our moment-to-moment experience of both moving and stillness. Activating and then letting go. Then when you're ready, coming to a neutral spine, bringing your big toes together and your knees apart, and sitting your bottom towards your knees. And you can either stretch your arms out along in front, or you can bend your elbows and place one fist on top of the other. And rest your forehead on the fists, or it could be a pillow or a cushion, whatever feels right for you. Letting the sit bones be nice and wide and the belly be soft, taking a rest in this position. Releasing the glutes if they're holding on. And you might like to take a deeper breath here, allowing the back of the rib cage to expand. Coming back to hands and knees again and noticing that invitation and what emerges inside of you. There may be some reluctance or some excitement, or perhaps you feel neutral. Just being open to our experience, whatever it is, allowing. And as you come back to hands and knees in a neutral spine and neck, reaching out with your right hand so that the hand is still on the floor. Reaching out in front and reaching behind with the left foot, keeping the top of the foot on the floor, but straightening that back leg, the left leg. So just noticing how this might challenge your stability. Noticing any shaking. And in a moment, if it feels right for your body, we're going to lift the right hand off the floor and the left foot off the floor. So you may want to stay in this posture, or you may want to go back to another posture. Whatever feels right for you. Letting the left foot rise up and the right hand rise up, and looking ahead past the fingers on the right. Noticing both stability and instability in this posture. Breathing. Making the journey to all fours again. And again, can you be open to all the sensations of moving as you make this journey back to all fours? And then bringing the left hand out in front, still flat on the floor, and the right foot slide out behind so that the top of the foot is flat on the floor, but the right knee is straight. Opening to stability and instability, and how that might have changed right now. And then if it feels right for you, lifting the left hand and the right foot off the ground and looking forward past the fingertips. Breathing. And making the journey back. Bringing the big toes together, the knees apart, and the bottom sits towards the heels, and then either stretching the arms out in front of you or making both fists one on top of the other and resting your forehead on the fists or the floor. Breathing, resting. As you open to sensations throughout the whole body. Parts of the body that are contact with the floor, parts of the body that aren't. As best we can, sensing into the entire body in stillness and movement. Coming back to all fours again, and this time walking the hands in towards the knees, curling the toes under and pushing into the hands so that you come into a squatting position. The knees will come off the floor. You're probably resting on your toes and hands right now, a bit like a frog. And in a moment we're going to lift our bottoms up so that we end up being flat on our feet, but bent forward. So making sure that you take care of your body in this position. If you need to rest your elbows on your knees, or if you need to come up a bit, by all means make the adjustments that you need to. And being open to the journey as we push into the floor with our hands and lift our bottom up. Come flat onto our feet, bending forward. You might like to cross your arms and let your arms pull away from your chest. And if you're flexible, you might like to hang on to your big toes, and you can certainly keep your knees bent in this position, letting the neck, the shoulders and the face be soft. And in a moment we are going to roll up the spine and come into standing from the base of the spine. So allowing the arms to just go for the ride as you tuck your tailbone under, squeeze the belly in and begin to rise up. letting the arms go for the ride, and the last thing to come up will be the head, so keeping the chin on the chest, and as you come upright, rolling the shoulders back and down, standing and breathing. Noticing all the sensations of being in this body. Perhaps noticing thoughts or emotions without pushing anything away. Orienting your attention towards standing and breathing. And from this position, turning your palms upwards as we breathe in, letting the arms rise up towards the sky. And as we breathe out, turning the palms downwards and letting a new arc come back down towards the sides of the torso. Breathing in, the arms rise up. And breathing out, the arms come down. You might allow your arms to come up and down from the front if that feels better. Just doing whatever feels right for your body. Taking care, and then just letting the arms just rest at the sides of the body. Perhaps noticing any residual sensations from having moved. Clothes resting on skin, body temperature, contact with the floor through the feet, and the movement of breathing. Now, if it feels right for your body, standing about shoulder width apart, and we're going to do a bit of swaying from one side to the other. So noticing what feels right for your body, how fast or slow you go, allowing a slight twist at the spine, and the head can just go for the ride. You might notice the shift of balance from one foot to the other. So turning your hips, looking over each shoulder. You might like to open your eyes and notice the change in the visual field, taking in the environment, and then coming to stillness, standing in a way that feels stable for your feet. And as we are in the last couple of minutes of our movement practice, just tuning into your own body and see if there's a particular movement or stretch your body wants you to make. And as you engage in that, listening to the wisdom of your own body, continuing to open to all of the sensations in the journey, not just in the destination. And as you do this, opening to the feelings. Is it pleasant to engage in this way? Is it unpleasant or neutral? There's no right or wrong, just being with whatever arises. And then when you're ready, bringing this practice to an end in stillness. And the invitation is to see if you can continue your day with a sense of connection between your mind and body.